Hey, hello again. My name is Noah Brewster, and this is my informational interview presentation for CED 250. For this interview, I chose a guy by the name of Jeff Stevens, and Jeff Stevens is the regional sales director for a company called Sequoia Surgical. And Sequoia Surgical is basically a orthopedics company. They sell a product called Arthrex, which is basically shoulder, hip, and knee replacements. They sell the pins and the actual replacements themselves. Pretty successful. They work side by side with a company called Stryker, which Stryker is a pretty national company. I think it's publicly traded even on a stock market. So yeah, it's a big company, big industry. A lot of people working in that environment. The reason why I chose Jeff is because Jeff is the regional sales director, which is a big position. I mean, he's kind of like the guy who oversees Northern California and even parts of Nevada as well. So he's got a lot on his plate, and one day I hope to achieve that. Granted, I kind of have a career that I'm already in right now, and I don't see a change in the future. But if I were to make a change, I think that I would probably jump into something like a medical device sales or sales position of some sort. So I figured Jeff would be a great guy to communicate with. I actually got linked up with Jeff, one of my friends. His name is Scott Templeton. He works for Sequoia Surgical as well. And Sequoia Surgical is based out of Sacramento. And Scott put me in contact with Jeff. So from there, I sent him an email and asked about the interview. And he said, yeah. So great guy, very down to earth. It's like your typical sales guy. I mean, he's pretty personable. He's just a normal guy. He's got a baseball background. So him and I kind of hit it off right off the bat. Baseball is kind of a small circle, and I've been pretty heavily involved in that. So that was kind of nice. That kind of started the interview off in a good way. As far as the details of the job, I kind of asked some questions about what kind of experience do you need, what kind of schooling, what kind of requirements do most of the people that are in this industry have. So I'll start with the experience. I mean, he said that typically to get a job, you'd have to have a couple years of sales experience underneath your belt. He got in at a time where they were in need of sales. They were growing quite rapidly. So he got in without any sales experience, and they kind of taught him everything that he would need to know, taught him the ropes, so to speak. The biggest thing that is required for getting into this field is you need a bachelor's degree at minimum. So a lot of the kids that are coming out of school, this is a great career choice, especially if you're into sales, if you're into medical devices, human anatomy, things like that. If that stuff fascinates you, then this is a pretty great career, or could be anyways, because the potential to make monetary gain and be pretty successful is there for sure. As far as other traits that are required, like your personality, just being personable, being upfront, honest. I think a lot of sales, people get the wrong idea when it comes to sales and say that sales is like, you have to drop like smooth lines and, kind of be a sleazy car salesman, so to speak. When really sales is just being genuine, just building a relationship with who you're trying to sell the product to, building trust. There's trust and communication both ways, and respect both ways. I feel like sales is pretty simple from that aspect of it. So if you understand people and relationships and you can build those strong relationships, then sales is a pretty good career choice for you. So I feel like I'm doing okay with that stuff. So I feel like if I was to make a shift into a different career, that I feel like I'd be pretty successful or able to make that transition pretty smoothly. As far as other requirements, I mean, it's a plus that you understand the human anatomy. They are dealing with, and Jeff in particular is orthopedic, so it's shoulder, hip, and knee replacements. So, the better you understand the human body and where these pins and replacements are actually being inserted, the easier your job's going to be. One of the things that kind of shocked me was that, these guys are actually standing in the operating room. So, they're with the surgeon that's there. And the surgeon is asking them how to install these pins and how to install the hip replacements or the knee replacements. So the expert, the true expert in the room is the sales rep. So the sales rep's got to know the product inside and out as well as the anatomy. And from what I gather, they're watching the surgery happen on a screen because it's orthopedics, it's real small, and they're watching the surgery happen on the screen, and the doctor is asking them, does that look like a good place to attach the pin? And the sales rep is the one that's saying yes. it was kind of shocking to me because they don't have a medical background. There's no you don't have to go to school and get a doctorate or any of that stuff. You're not a nurse. I mean, you're essentially in the medical field. You have no experience aside from just understanding the product and the anatomy, and then also just the number of surgeries that you've been a part of. So it was a little bit shocking for me that you can be in a operating room and the doctor's asking you questions as far as how to install something that he should be fixing. It was just a weird. It was kind of a weird thing that surprised me for sure. So anyways, I thought that was pretty interesting. The other side too is I asked him questions like, who are you working with on a day-to-day basis? And he's shaking hands with doctors and he's with nurses and assistants and things like that. And then he's also meeting with the patients too that are actually going to undergo the surgery, because there's multiple products out there that people can choose to get as far as getting a shoulder repaired. So Jeff goes in and he'll meet with some of these people and kind of discuss the best options that they can provide, their company specifically can provide, and then based off of that and the conversation that they have with the patient, and then the patient has with their doctor, then they decide on the right tool to implement. So yeah, I mean they're dealing with all sorts of people, all types of people, all walks of life. And then the reason why I kind of I actually asked Jeff, sorry, I got sidetracked. I kind of asked Jeff too, is there room for growth within your company? And he said, yeah. I mean, initially he was just a sales rep that was going from hospital to hospital and worked his way up. He's been with the company for about 6 years now, worked his way up to a territory, and then he was a regional. So, I mean, there's room for growth, and there's even room for growth beyond that. I mean, he's still pushing. I believe he's 34 years old. He's still pushing and trying to get to the next level. So there's definitely room for growth within this company. You don't just start as a sales rep and stay there unless you want to. I mean, if you don't put in the work, then obviously you're not going to, progress as far as you need to or want to. So there's a lot of room for growth, which is a positive for me. I asked him about the negatives to the job. He said the negatives to the job are sometimes surgeries can be long. Sometimes they can run 8, 10, 12 hours. There can be complications and things. And, even though his portion might take 5 or 10 minutes for the doctor to actually install, he's got to be present when the surgery starts, and he's got to stay for the entire duration. So, even though his portion of it might be, 5 minutes and you're done, he's got to come in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning when the surgeon's there and get all scrubbed up and wear scrubs and all that stuff and sit and wait until the doctor's ready or the surgeon's ready to install his piece, and then he guides him through, and then once that's done, they have to wait until the surgery's over, and then he's free to go. So that was kind of a negative, he said, is sometimes you can be on his feet for 10, 12 hours at a time just standing in an operating room. And then the other negative he said was travel. He's got to travel quite a bit, which to me is not such a negative. I kind of enjoy traveling, so that was surprising that he thought that was a negative, but I guess, I don't do it to the frequency that he does, so maybe he's just kind of tired of bouncing around from city to city. So totally understandable. I mean, it's different for everybody, I think. And then lastly, I asked him about the positives, and he said he's always on the go, which is great, makes things, fast paced. His days go by pretty quick. Said it's great money, so that's always a positive. I think that's something that can help shave some stress, of course, for a lot of people, as most of the stuff people stress about is financial. And then it's always different. Said it's no 2 days are the same, no 2 patients are the same. The requirements might be a little bit close to the same, but as far as the execution and the implementation of their products being a little bit different, so keeps it all pretty fresh. Outside of that, all of this stuff, I mean, as far as my own career path and development, this just showed me something that's, on the other side of the fence if I ever chose to switch careers. And I feel like my degree path, which is interdisciplinary studies, and it's got an emphasis in sales and marketing and then organizational leadership, I feel like that my degree path and the choice that I made as far as my degree is concerned was correct. So if I ever did decide to change careers, that I have this as an option, and it's always kind of nice to know that I'm pursuing a degree that I feel like would fit into something that I can use outside of what I'm currently doing. So anyways, that's it. Really appreciative of Jeff and his time, and thank you guys for watching, and good luck to y'all. Talk to y'all soon. Thanks.